Welcome back to another episode of the Stay Connected podcast. I'm here today with the GratiDude, the most grateful guy on the planet, Mr. Kevin Carpenter, a true ambassador for the game of golf, leader of the Grateful For organization, which we're going to touch on today a lot. Kevin, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Man, incredible introduction, buddy. Thank you, Leo. And anything that you're doing, I want to be a part of, buddy. I want to stay connected to. How about that?
Thank you. I appreciate it, Kevin.
Absolutely.
Kevin's been awesome to me throughout the course of my career over the last couple of years since we met, and it's been really awesome to be alongside you. I've learned so much, and I'm sure the audience is going to learn a ton from this podcast today.
And real fast, let me be clear though. I learned just as much from you, bro. So, just because we're different ages doesn't mean that we're not teaching on an equal level. You know what I mean? Just different things. So
yeah. How old are you, Kevin, by the way?
I'm 55. I'm 55, even though I look 30. So it's crazy.
Yes.
Not just messing with you. I
He
like
looks great,
to
folks.
consider myself, now that I've gotten off the sauce, gotten into yoga, health, mindfulness, all those other good things. I'm the Benjamin Button of golf. I'm reverse aging.
I love it.
That's the idea anyway.
That's what we want to be doing.
That's it, baby.
Kevin, talk to me a little bit about how you got into the game of golf.
Cool. Yeah. So listen, I truth be told, I did not play much golf at all growing up. I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which if you've been around a college town or whatever, it's a really cool town for a young person to grow up in, because you've got so much athletic stuff going on, and there's also a lot of information and music and museums for smaller towns that you would normally find in big cities because of the university population, right? So because of that, I was really into sports growing up, and there were some cool, municipal golf courses I went out to a few times. Really didn't have the patience or the temperament, and just never got into it, and didn't have a mentor to really bring me into the game until I got out to California, where I went to college. And a guy I played basketball with, his foster brother, he grew up in a foster home up in the Redwoods with a bunch of other dudes that didn't have proper parenting. This guy was a golf lunatic. His name is Sean. And he came down and he met me the first time. And he's like, well, come on, bro, we're going to play golf. And I'm like, I don't know any golf clubs, dude. And he goes, it doesn't matter, man. Well, you can hit out of our bag, man. We're going to walk in the Redwoods, dude. Have you been up to Boulder Creek Golf Course? And I'm like, no, I mean, I've been to Boulder Creek, but dude, there's a golf course back there, man. It's carved out of the Redwoods, bro. He goes, it doesn't matter. You can swing and miss the ball. You're going to look up and smile. Come on. I'm like, okay. Basically dragged me out there. Well, within a couple of weeks, I had bought a set of golf clubs from the flea market for about $50, an old set of McGregor's with a leather bag.
Wow.
And I remember, man, going back out to Boulder Creek Golf Club right there on Highway 9, Boulder Creek, California, between Santa Cruz and San Jose, California, on the old mountain road. And I remember hitting a shot on a par 4 on the third fairway. And as soon as I hit it, heard the sound, looked up, saw the flight of the ball, saw the redwoods and the mountains, I was like, holy shit. I was like, I'm going to play golf until I'm dead. Like, I know right now, in this moment, standing right here on this fairway, Bill Aragona was the owner, and I'm still dear friends with him to this day. I'm never going to stop playing golf. I knew right then and there. It was the craziest shit, man. I knew it.
You got connected.
I got connected, bro. Dude, when I looked up and saw that ball, and I'm telling you, I'll take you to this golf course in the Redwoods, the sweetest little, 5,000 yard track with 1,000-year-old trees around you, man, and mountains and the sunshine in the air. And oh my gosh, the amount of oxygen in the air around Redwoods is incredible. So that was it, man. So I started playing golf, right? And I soon thereafter graduated from college and got a degree in Latin American studies and global economics. I was going to ride the whole NAFTA wave, right? Because NAFTA was being passed. And I realized if I was bilingual, I'd have the opportunity to travel in Latin America, and there's going to be endless amount of business opportunities, right? So I was working for a natural food company, and I was managing an agriculture project in Mexico. Company is called Wildwood Natural Foods. And the way that I roll, I'm still friends with that old boss, man. He's in Bali, and he was a part of one of the Sherpa programs, believe it or not, Leo. So anyway, working for him, and my buddy David Chesler, who lives here in Sarasota with me, we had gone to high school together. And somebody said, hey, Dave's looking for you. Here's his toll-free number for his new company, ParView, ParView. And I'm like, what's that? Oh, he's got a golf thing, a technology golf thing going. I'm like, okay. He was always an entrepreneur, a scammer, brilliant dude, geek, party animal. So the joke was, and it wasn't much of a joke, was we were the 4.0 bros when we graduated, because I had a 2.2 when we graduated. He had a 1.8, right? We both figured out a way to get into some colleges. I could hit baseballs. He was smart enough to get in. But anyway, we hook back up, right? And we start saying, hey, what's new with you? What's new with you? And I said, well, listen, man, this dude turned me on to playing golf. I've been playing like all the time. And he starts laughing. I go, why are you clowning me? You're the Silver Spoon Country Club kid, you know? And he's like, no, I'm not laughing at you about that. He goes, it's ironic, bro. He goes, I've got this company. This is what I'm doing. I'm putting these GPS computers in golf cars. And I'm like, GPS. And I'm like, I just knew GPS from like that airplanes and trucks used it and stuff. I mean, I really didn't. I was like, GPS. I was like, so like to find the golf cars or something, like if they get lost or something? And he's like, no. It's really, there's stuff for the owners because you can track them, right? And the way they make money is putting through golfers to play as many as golfers as possible. You could sell stuff to them. You could message back and forth. I'm like, oh, wow. And he goes, and then on the other side for the golfer, man, it gives them all their yardage, dude. I go, oh, wow, that's dope. So they don't use range finders and stuff. He goes, no, man. We use GPS now. In the last like 2 years, this is 1996, we were able to add GPS. I mean, before that, they didn't even have anything. And he goes, and our stuff, we're ordering food and beverage through the screen and And we're the only ones that are doing that. I'm like, wow, that's really cool, man. And he goes, let me send you a screen and just take it to some golf course owners in Monterey Bay. Get me some feedback because we have 8 customers. And I don't know if we should try to sell this in California or what. You know, all of them are in the Southeast or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I was like, listen, I just started playing golf, bro. I don't know anything about the golf business, you know, and I suck at golf, by the way. And he goes, I'm sure you suck at golf. He goes, but listen, you're good at talking. So just take this screen. I'll program it so you just plug it in. You don't have to do shit. Just go talk, ask them what they think and try to remember it. And then tell me what they told you. Can you do that? I'm like, okay, dude, I'll do that. Okay. So he sends me the screen and I'm like, okay, cool. So I tell my boss, Jeremiah, my friend in Bali, I got a dentist appointment, man. No sweat. Be back before 5. I got some shit I got to cover with you. I'm like, okay. So I tell this guy, Charlie Leiter, down at Pajaro Valley Golf Club, I'll be there after lunch. And I roll in about 1:30, plug this screen in, no clue what I'm talking about. And we get to gabbing, right? Charlie's a smooth operator. Back then, he's probably, well, I can tell you how old he is. He was probably in his early 60s. Dude had played on the PGA Tour in the late 50s, early 60s. His family had owned that golf course for like 70 years and we're taking it back. They leased it out, had all these other business stuff going on, dressed really fly, super cool dude. And his sister's with him because they basically run the trust that owns the golf course. We sit there for 3 hours and I have no idea. We're just bullshitting. I'm asking stories, hearing stories. We're talking, And I'm like, oh crap, it's 4:30. It takes 20 minutes for me to get back to my job. I got to wrap this up. I don't want to get fired from my job, right? So I'm like, hey, Charlie, it's getting late and everything. This has been really cool. I'm going to grab my screen. I have no idea what we were talking about, but this is what I do know. I've been selling since I'm 12. It's $500,000 to be the first course in California to be the ParView inaugural customer in California. We want you to be that customer. What do you think? Let's go, Kevin. Let's fucking do it.
Wow.
And I'm like, I almost threw up. I started smiling and then I was scared to death. I'm like, I have no fucking idea what we're doing. I'm like, okay, Charlie. He's like, so what's next? I'm like, we'll get a phone call going and we'll get something going. I have no idea. I really don't know. Because guess what, Charlie? I own a beeper. I don't even have a cell phone yet. I didn't say that though, but that's what I'm thinking. So I go next door to the payphone at the gas station and I call my buddy Dave. And this is how the phone call goes. Ring, Dave. What's up, dude? How'd it go? You talk to anybody? I go, yeah, man, I just left this golf course in the Monterey Bay. Oh, I love the Monterey Bay, bro. I go, yeah, I did a deal. And he's just, dude, I could still hear him laughing. Ah! Oh my God. Oh, Kev. Oh, dude. Oh, shit. That's so funny, man. Oh, you think you did a deal? Oh, Kev, man, you're so I love you, bro. You're so positive, dude. You're so cool, dude. Listen, man, I don't know how to tell you this. We have 8 customers in 3 years. Okay. So you didn't do a deal. You have somebody that's really interested, but I love your enthusiasm. I'm like, listen, fuck you, man. I'm pissed off now. I said, listen, we'll do a phone call tomorrow. You can apologize for being an asshole. He's like, okay, buddy, we'll do a phone call tomorrow, man. Talk to you later. Click. I'm like, okay, all right. Sure enough, we do a phone call the next day with Charlie. I'm like, Charlie, Dave, Charlie, per our meeting yesterday, $500,000. You're ready to go, aren't you, Charlie? He's like, I'm ready to go, Kev. That's what Dave said.
Had nothing to say.
And I said, Dave, I need you to send me the contract. I'll bring it to Charlie. And what do we need? A deposit check? And he said, yeah, well, we'll get, yeah. Click. Never heard Dave out of loss of words. He hang up, click. He's like, oh my God, calls me right back. We're going to rule the world. We're going to rule the world. I could see him standing up, running around his office. Oh my gosh, bro. And I'm like, dude. Do you remember how we met? How we met, Leo, was he was charging money at my house party as a teenager and trying to keep the money, and I caught him. That's how we became friends. So the guy's slick, and I can't necessarily trust him 100%. So I'm like, listen, you send me a check for 10 grand, I have $1,100 in the bank. If it clears, I'll quit my job. Well, day 3, sure enough, my bank balance went from 1,100 to 11,100. And I walked into Jeremiah's office, the guy in Bali that was in my program a few weeks ago. I was like, yo, Jeremiah, I don't know how to tell you this, bro, but I'm quitting. He says, quitting? What are you? Shut up, man. I was his assistant. I was running this program in Mexico. I was selling it. He's like, what are you talking about quitting? What are you going to do? I said, well, the other half of the 4.0, bro. And anyway, he started this technology company. I'm going to put computers in golf cars. And he just starts laughing. He goes, oh, bro. He goes, you kids around Santa Cruz smoking that weed, man. Get back to work, bro. I'm like, Jeremiah, I'm not joking, dude. And he goes, God damn, you're not joking. And his voice got messed up. And he's like, it's like, all right, man. He goes, just take the rest of the day off and we can talk tomorrow. Because I was his right-hand homie, dude, for like a year and a half. And it came out of nowhere. I didn't plan it. This shit just happened out of nowhere, bro. So I quit my job, dude. And I started driving all around California, slinging ParView, bro. I would go like 1,500 miles and go for like 10 days, dude, all the way to like the desert in Palm Springs, all the way to wine country, come all the way back. I was single. I didn't give a I was gone, bro.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, I start clocking some other deals down, and homie's like, this ain't no fluke. So he's like, listen, bro, I go back for the PGA show like 6 months later. He's like, I want you to move to Florida. I want you to be the VP of sales. You get $1 million in deals done. You could start a sales team. You got the keys, and we blow it up. I'm like, I hate to leave California, but I'm in. And so I literally went back and told my homies in NorCal. They couldn't believe I was leaving NorCal, bro. They were like, what? I was like, listen, dude. I said, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. That's opportunity, fool. I'm out.
Yeah.
Motherfucker could be in Ohio right now. I'm out. He happened to be in Sarasota. Yeah. Lucky for me. So we took that company. I came back here, knocked out some big deals, did a $2 million deal with a company called Gulf South up in Virginia. And that was it. I dropped those contracts on his desk on his birthday, August 6th. And he's like, get yourself a sales team, dog. It's on. I'm like, okay.
I love it.
Started scouring the country, dude. I mean, I remember pitching dudes that now work for Club Car in like their car in Minnesota in the wintertime going, listen, man, and do and da-da-da and did it. And they're like, fuck it, I'm in. And then I go to Massachusetts. This guy's selling point of sale tea time. I'm like, listen, man, da-da-da-da. Here's your commission structure. And if you don't have a Rolex in 1 year, fire me. He's like, I'm in. And I went all over the country, dude. Dude, we came into the golf industry, 8 of us. We took the company from 3 million to 20 million in 1 year.
Wow.
Nobody
That's
had
amazing,
any idea, dog. And we finagled the finance game and this and that and da-da-da-da. But the cool thing about it was that the stuff costs as much as golf cars, right? It was non-essential technology. Golf wasn't crushing really. I mean, it was crushing with Tiger, but the industry itself was, still not that great business-wise in terms of profitability. So I got the meetings with everybody. That was the beautiful thing, right? Because, you would get the C-level and the VP meetings and all these other things with these folks because it was that big of a dollar, right? And so that's the really cool thing now, right? Is I'm in my 50s, is that I caught all the old school guys in the late 90s, early 2000s. Some of them are retired, some are still around, but the ones that were coming up, they're my age now. They're running everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even if they're a little bit older, they're the guys I was pitching back in the day, right? And the cool thing about it is that in golf, and that's really the message for folks that would like to get into golf. I mean, dude, I didn't even know which end of the damn club to hold until I was like 23 years old, right? I'd gone and whacked it a few times on the Muni course, bro. But I didn't know anything about the game. I didn't know about the history. I didn't know about the fact that it's the only sport where you're your own referee and that integrity is at the front and center, which is why it's such a beautiful game for growth and development as a human being. And how golf mirrors life, right? And how it's so incredible from a relationship standpoint, all these incredible things I just wasn't exposed to, right? So now I am, and now I just appreciate it so much. But, you know, if you have integrity and you are coming from a good place, the golf industry welcomes you, right?
Yeah.
They're just, they just have only been exposed to what they know, right? So they don't even know how to reach out to certain types of people, to Latinos, to Black people, to other people. But just, and it's because they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings almost. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I love being one of those people that can help open up, you know, the arms wide for the golf industry as a whole, right? And to help people both from a mentorship and a networking standpoint get into the industry, because we need new people, we need new energy. And it's a great business to be in, right? Because it's a real relationship business, which is pretty unique.
Yeah.
So I've been talking a lot, Leo. I'd love to hear what questions you have based upon that story, bud.
No, 100%. First off, for the audience, I love, talking to Kevin because the stories that you go through and like what you've experienced, it's just fascinating to listen from a younger perspective.
Sure.
But from what I see, it all seemed like divine alignment. And like,
Amen. Yeah,
you
man.
were at the right place at the right time, and like you were never at the wrong place at the wrong time. And
True
it
that.
just kind of happened. And one thing led to another. You had no expectations, and things just kind of flowed, and you were just yourself. And
Yeah.
I
Amen.
mean, what you were able to experience through ParView, like traveling across the country and the world, really,
Yeah, for sure.
to pitch people about the product. First of all, you added a ton of value to the game of golf, so we got to appreciate you for that. But also, I'm curious to know a little bit about like what was it that you really just like figured out about golf, traveling to all these places, pitching ParView, and all that.
Well, a few things, right? I mean, the number one thing is the thing that I'd learned from really in early days in sales, and I learned from other mentors, is that if you truly believe and understand that we have much more in common than we ever could as far as differences, right? You can go into every single and any situation with anyone and know that if you're patient and open-hearted, you can find that connection, right? And that so much of it is just being real and authentic and true. And you know, it's said that the truth vibrates at the highest speed of anything, right? And people feel the truth, right? So, you know, it was interesting for me, right? Because, you know, I didn't have money growing up, right? So I didn't play golf growing up. I didn't come from a conservative upbringing. My parents were radicalized by poverty, right? And by real life shit, to be honest with you. I mean, my dad started smoking when he was 12 and fought in World War II. And my mom was one of 8 Irish kids and left home and worked her way through college and traveled the world. And, you know, they just had a really different perspective on life and reality, right? So, you know, so for me to go into the golf industry, I had to fall back on the fundamental thing that ties us all together, right? And that's something much bigger than the social constructs and all the things that humans make. It's things that sort of are above and beyond that, right? Those are the things that help me get comfortable in golf, and then I could go anywhere. And then once you were comfortable, then you could focus on learning about every single different operation. And the thing about golf that's really fascinating as you're getting into it, golf course, right? Like a business, but it's really an amalgamation of 4, 5, 6, 7 different businesses, small businesses under one umbrella at one address, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the food and beverage operation is a completely different P&L animal and inventory and staffing and management approach than selling retail. You have a clothing retail store, right? That's completely, you need people that's their thing, right? Then you have this customer service element that's almost it is hospitality, right? You have outside services people, which is a mix of hospitality. I can go on and on. I haven't even gotten onto the agronomy side, right? Which is farming, right? So how many,
Yeah.
but this is real shit, right? This is why it's such a great industry to get into, right? Is like, if you take the time to really understand who you are and what you're into, what your passions and interests are, there's a cool ass job in the golf industry for you. You know, like,
Yeah.
I love gardening. Well, God dang it, man. That's 2/3 of the budget of every golf course is gardening, right? It should
Yeah.
be high-end gardening, right? So in other words, I'm joking, not joking though, right? So that's a really cool way when you start to understand golf, the complexities of it, then you're like, okay, I want to find a way to bring value to as many of the businesses in the business of this golf course as possible, right? So in the case of what I was doing with technology in the golf cart, it's like, okay, how do I tie this into all the different departments, right? Where's the value from an agronomy standpoint? How do we help them even out wear and tear and turf by utilizing the technology in the car? How do we market different F&B items? Maybe there's leftover items from an event. How do we drive membership participation? How do we and I'm going through all of the different departments, then sub-departments within the departments, because if I get it all tied into everything, then I'm adding real value, right? So whether it's coaching that I'm going to be doing going forward, I don't want to coach for just one person at a club, right? I want to have services and approaches that helps the entire organization to flourish, right? So I learned that going back from golf as well.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that. There truly is so much opportunity for anyone that wants to get into golf. Like, if you truly find your lane, there
Well,
is a
es que
spot
si
for you.
habla bien español, joven, I mean, es increíble las oportunidades, ¿no? Porque obviamente in agronomy and maintenance, I mean, you're at the top of the list if you're bilingual, right? So, I mean, if a Latino that has equal agronomy skills is going up against a gringo that's just moderately conversational and they're fluent, they get the job every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, shit. So use your advantages that lots of people would like to call disadvantages. Use those as advantages, right? That's making lemonade out of whatever situation you're in. And I think that, that's one of the reasons why Grateful for Golf, as we'll get into if we get into it, or we don't even have to, but that's why it's such a particularly interesting niche, right? Introducing at-risk kids or kids below average median income to daily practices around mindfulness and gratitude for mental health, which then gives us the comfort and the ability to bring them into local golf facilities to learn about the businesses and learn about these opportunities. I want them to hear about it from the director of golf, the F&B manager, the agronomy guy, go for a ride on the mower and stuff like that and check it out,
Yeah. Truly get the experience of it,
Yeah,
100%. And I was leading to that. I mean, one of the things that stands out about you and your character is it's never enough. You're always grateful for who you are and what you got, but you're never satisfied. And people can hear your story. Hey, you went across the world selling ParView, making a lot of money, and it's like you got to a point where it's like, okay, but I'm called to do something bigger. It's
totally,
it's
man.
not just about this.
Totally.
And it inspired you to create the GratiDude, which
Yep.
I love because being in the content space and having my own brand as the connected golfer and not just my name kind of creates that alter ego that you kind of
Superman and
aspire
Clark
to.
Kent,
And
right?
it's so fun to like immerse yourself in the character, and you do it
Totally.
amazingly. Like, I have one of Kevin's chips right here. It says bet on yourself with self-talk. And
Yeah. Yeah.
Kevin will go around Sarasota. I've been with him a lot. We've been over his house, and he'll be going around town just telling people, be freaking grateful, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm the GratiDude. Like, I'm here to spread positivity for the world. Like, and you feel the effect right there. And it's inspired
Yeah.
me as the connected golfer to go out there and do the same. So I appreciate that. But
Oh, yeah,
my
man. Thank
question to
you.
you is
Yeah.
more like, why wasn't it just enough? Why did you have to go down this path now and create something new for the world as the
Yeah.
GratiDude with Grateful
Yeah,
for and
that's
everything?
interesting. Yeah, and only God can answer that, right? So, but really, in truth, like I remember, and it wasn't so much in kindergarten because kindergarten was still relatively programming free in terms of clamping down on expression, but like starting in like first grade, I could remember like feeling the constructs of time, expectations, and for lack of a better term, sort of man-made law coming down around me. But I remember looking around in first grade and going, how come everybody doesn't like want to express love to everyone else? Because that's what I feel. Like I feel that, but I'm looking around and feeling that that's not appropriate anymore. And it really wasn't, because I didn't know how to do it in an appropriate way until the GratiDude, to be honest with you. Now, I've always been very kind and loving and wanting to connect to other people, but I drank heavily for 20 solid years through my 30s and 40s, because for a lot of reasons. I went through a lot of trauma growing up, some loss and grief, and I also knew that I had this deeper meaning and purpose that you alluded to, that I felt like I had made a choice to become a provider and a parent, and that they were mutually exclusive. And I didn't know how to get back here until I got off of the sauce, because of the unhealthy nature of how our body metabolizes alcohol, the anxiety induces, and the way it alters your brain chemistry. I could only get about 85% of the way there. You know what I mean? So what happened was I had enough for everybody else all day, every day. Like I still gave it away like I do now, but I didn't have anything for me, bro, at the end of the day. And I didn't have self-love, and I didn't have forgiveness. I was blaming myself, and I didn't even know why until I got off the sauce. And then suddenly I'm forgiving myself for all of the things that I never really did anyway, you know?
Yeah.
And it was amazing. So once I did that, I realized that I'd rediscovered this purpose of sharing this feeling of unconditional love. However, now I needed to do it in a way that wasn't covert and wasn't here and there, but I could live it like every day, right? And I started to hatch a plan, right? And about literally 5 years ago, I had been into yoga for about a year. I'd been posting attitude of gratitude for, this probably went back 7 years. So probably five and a half, right after I quit drinking about 5 years ago. The guy who runs all the golf at Disney in Orlando is a wonderful human being named Bruce Gerlander, one of the rock stars for their management company there. Century Golf manages all the golf at Disney. Bruce is an old golf industry vet of Florida. And, through my posts and other stuff and correspondence, he just hit me up and he goes, dude, you know who you are? You're the GratiDude, bro. And I go, holy shit, Bruce. I go, I think that sticks, dude. And he goes, yeah, that's who you are, man. And I'm like, holy crap. So I went to the mother of my kids, who's a really talented graphic artist. We're divorced now. And I said, hey, this is the vision of who the GratiDude is. And I showed her the guy, Jeff Bridges from The Big Lebowski, and that character, the dude. And then I took golf, and I took kind of a beachy theme. And then I said, he's got to be on the golf course, and this and this and this. And we pieced it together. And then she did a draft or two, and I sent it to some golf industry veterans like the CEO of the NGCOA, and he's like, you have better cheekbones than that. That's like a fat face, Kevin. I'm like, oh, thanks, Jay. That's nice of you. He goes, tighten up the cheekbones. And then a few others like, you should have a little scruff. I'm like, ooh, that's good. Somebody said you should have some beads somewhere. I'm like, ooh, that's good. So I pieced all that shit together, and then it came out. And then I was like, I got to lock this down. It's too good, because people are like, dude, that's dope. So I trademarked it. And that's an extensive process, like a real global trademark. So it's a trademark of the image and the term within the spaces of education, health, wellness, golf, and entertainment and music.
Nice.
So all the things I was already had feed in, and prior art and current or past immediate activity in, that you can then document, because that's how trademarks work. So for example, on that, just to educate the audience while they're at it, because I've learned along the way. So there's a group doing GratiDude Ranch lodgings, and they have a couple spots, and they look really cool. A couple different people hit me up on it and said, hey, you should check it out. Well, I ran it by my lawyer, Monica, and she's like, well, that's actually hospitality. You're not in house. We could. I was like, no, that's cool. I was just curious. So it was a learning opportunity for me. So that's the interesting part of the trade. So with that, then I realized, okay, I've got the GratiDude. Now I have to craft a short story that will allow me to tell this story as I go, and I need a vehicle to do it. And there was a guy on LinkedIn that I started watching about 6 years ago, who has a company called A Sales Group. It used to be a sales guy. His name's Keenan. If you ever check him out on LinkedIn, to me, he's the greatest like sales guru ever because he's just a no BS. His whole concept is called gap selling. So you sell not a product, but you sell a future state. So you have to understand so much about the prospective client that you're able to understand what your good or service could do for them and what that future state would look like, and then understand the revenue, the implications organizationally. So it's sophisticated. It's no bullshit. It's really neat. Well, he would always have this thing say, bet on yourself, right? And had these shirts and stuff. And I ordered a shirt like 6 years ago. I liked it so much. I was like, give me one of those shirts. Bet on yourself. I love it. So that got me going. And I was like, bet, poker chip. That's it. Make people say, I'm going to bet on. Then I can teach self-talk, because the only way you get to get the chip is to say, I'm going to bet on myself. And it's so cool, especially the bigger and the badder the dude is, the less he wants to say it if there are people around, right? Because it's vulnerable.
Yeah.
If you've never
100%.
done self-talk, right? And I've had to threaten taking the chips back. I'm like, no, you don't get to keep the chip like that.
Yeah.
Say it again. I'm going to bet on myself. It's
and
like,
that frequency is there.
The frequency is there and everybody's smiling. And it's so funny. A little kid, I did it in South Carolina this summer, man. And this little kid, I made him say it a second time because he was helping his teenage sister. He was probably 10, helping his teenage sister. And he was watching me like his eyes couldn't leave me. I felt it, my awareness. I looked over and caught him. I go, oh, you must be the boss. It's like, oh, he hides behind her and stuff. So then I walked him through a quick high-level Superman, GratiDude story for him. And then I made him say, I'm going to bet on myself. Say it. He's like, I'm going to bet on myself. And I'm like, oof, man, I've never taken a chip back. I'm like, can I do it again? I was like, go ahead. The whole place stops. I'm like, oh my God.
I love it.
It was a little overkill, but it was great, right? And then this is the very, very, very best part. He says, afterwards, he goes, before I said it the second time, I told myself, try not to smile, because I felt like I was going to smile if I said it, which is why I didn't want to say it. But then when I said it, I couldn't help smiling, like my mouth had a mind of its own. Like, my little man, dude. I mean, I was almost crying right then. And then he's like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to forget this. I said, I know I'm not going to forget it, bro.
I love that. That's what it's all about, man.
That's it, dude.
That's what it's all
Guess
about.
what? If it was just him in my lifetime, enough, dude.
That's it. Yeah. So I want to transition over a little bit into Grateful For and what you got going on there. First off, why gratitude out of all the other things that you could have picked? Patience, you could have picked discipline.
Yeah, again,
what is it about gratitude that's that?
Well, yeah. So a few things. So personal experience, but I'll explain it from a neuroscience standpoint, right? So my personal experience led me to gratitude, and it was July 30th, 1984. I was 15 years old. It was 2 days after my father decided to take his own life. He was dying. He was 62 and he had emphysema, et cetera, et cetera. Lived an incredible life, packed a lot into it, and also had a lot of trauma, a lot of mental health and wellness issues and stuff, all sorts of stuff. Anyway, it was obviously very, very traumatic, unexpected, and da-da-da-da-da. I was catatonic, totally out of it for a few days. And I had mentioned earlier that I played a lot of sports growing up. Well, my coach for a lot of my sports at that time of my life was this guy named Rusty Fuller, who I'm still dear friends with up in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I mean, to put it in perspective, how much I played sports, Leo, in ninth grade alone, I played football, basketball, volleyball, and baseball in the same year.
Wow.
4 sports. So I was never not playing a sport, right? Unless it was Christmas break or whatever, right? So, and that was my way of both finding healthy outlets, being around healthy men, and seeking approval and love, and I loved it. I love sports. So all that came together. So Rusty showed up, and I don't really remember exactly, but I was in the basement where my room was, and somebody said, "Hey, Rusty's here, get up here." And I remember going to the porch, and I don't really remember much. And then Rusty said, "Get in the van," like with his coach voice. And he was a big dude, bro, like 6'3", 230, probably, just like a rectangle human. And I'm like, that scared the shit out of me. And I'm like, whoa, what do you mean? Get in the van. And he's like, "There's nothing going on here, bro." I go, what do you mean? He goes, the adults have all this stuff, dude. You and me, we're going to get pizza. I'm like, pizza? And all of a sudden I'm like, God damn, I'm getting hungry. Like I'm thinking. And he goes, yeah, man. He goes, I called Scott, Tony, and John. They're all meeting us down there, man. And I heard you hadn't eaten. And now I'm getting really fucking hungry. And then he goes, and that girl you have a crush on just walked into Cottage Inn. That's where we're going. I'm like, holy shit. I was like, fuck yeah, let's go, bro. And now I'm fired up. I'm hungry. I'm like, yeah, I am sprung on that girl. My homies are going to be there. This dude is like, he taught me the reverse layup. He's my surrogate father almost. I'm so fortunate. And I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? Like I felt just like Christmas morning when I still believed in Santa. Like that fucking good. I'm like, this is the craziest shit I might have ever experienced in my life. And it was. That was God in the universe saying, here, bro, you're going to need this. And life is not what happens to you. Life is what you choose to think about. Now you know.
Mm.
There it was.
There it is.
That's when I started gratitude, right then and there. And I started saying stuff like, thank you for my health today. Like just something like that. And then by the time I got to college, I couldn't even include my dad because I was so fucked up emotionally for a long time, to be honest with you, that I didn't even realize I excluded him. But I would thank my mom and then somehow think that would, and then I would picture all the humanity of all my grandparents and somehow leave my dad out of it because I was so fucked up, dude. So obviously I don't do that anymore. I wouldn't be talking about it. So, but I started doing that, and every single day, even when I was drinking for all those years, I still, every single day, even I can remember sometimes being like on a plane at like 3 p.m. going, God, I didn't do gratitude this morning. I'm drunk. Oh, I'm so grateful I'm alive. And I would still do it.
Yeah.
So it was always something that I leaned on really, really heavily. And it was a big part of how I was able to maintain and build this proclivity to positivity, which really has shined in all of my relationships, my whole adult life. By all accounts, even through my own self-abuse and unhealthy lifestyles. And then when I got to the point where I realized that I was either going to be doomed to like walk into this quicksand and repeat the same shit as my dad and inflict all this trauma on my kids and really probably loathe myself as an old man and just fucking be miserable, or I was going to stop this whole energetic inheritance that I had received and just put an end to it, man. And I was going to have to do it. And I realized that, I had to do it, man. I had to muscle up and do it. And I was going to use gratitude, right? And I was just going to rewire my brain with gratitude and rewire away from addiction, right? And I realized I had to have the faith that the same thing that had gotten me this far could get me over the hump and get me there, right? So I kind of wrote out this program, dude. And for 6 months, I had it like on a piece of paper and it was getting all creased up and everything. And it was like, okay, in the morning, I'll start getting up early. Like, wow, because I won't be hungover. And I was like, wow, what if I got up early, man? Like all the shit that we love doing now, I dreamed about that shit, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I'll get up and I didn't even know about breath work, right? I'll get up and I'll meditate for like 15 minutes, man. And then, and I'm going to use gratitude and then I'm going to do yoga and I probably have to do yoga twice a day. And I didn't know how long this whole, the alcohol thing would take. I really didn't know. Right. So my ex really, the love that I had for her and for my family is really what gave me the courage to do it. Even though, as it turns out, once I got sober, she wasn't as comfortable with me as she was when I was drinking, but that's okay because God has a bigger plan that just has to work out. So I asked her to really take the gloves off and tell me what was going on. And she said, listen, the only thing out of balance is alcohol. And it's the only time I've ever seen you be mean. I mean, it hurts to even say it, right? And I was like, oof. I said to her right then and there, I go, that's the kick in the dick I needed. I'm never going to be mean again. She goes, what do you mean? I said, I'm never going to drink again, ever. She goes, what? What are you going to do rehab? You've been drinking for 30 years. I said, no, I'm going to do Grati rehab. I said, I got my own program. I said, I don't really know how this is going to work. I had this, I'm going to, yoga and meditation and, da, da, da. And
Yeah, man.
should I get the bottles out of the house? And I told her, you could rebuild the house out of Tito's bottles. I'll never drink again. And when I came out of it about 3.5 weeks, so it was like day 25, I'll never forget coming out of the meditation. And it felt like the tumblers in the safe clicking in, click, click, click. And I realized like I'd turned the corner. It was still going to be weird. Alcohol was weird, always going to be weird. But I realized I'm not going to fucking drink again. Like there's no danger anymore. Like today is the first day I felt that way. But then I realized, how do I package this story up so it's not about me, right? And the GratiDude allows me to do that, right? Because then I can say, listen, any greatness you experience from anything in and around my story is not from Kevin Carpenter, but it's from the GratiDude who represents something bigger than him. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day,
Yeah.
that really also allows me to keep my ego in check, right? So I could say, listen, for the IRS and all the human stuff and the mistakes and the ego, that's Kevin. All the beautiful stuff and all the pure good stuff, that's the GratiDude, man. And I aspire
Yeah.
to be more GratiDude than Kevin, but that's what we all aspire for, is our own better version of ourselves, right? And then
Absolutely.
from a neuroscience standpoint, why gratitude is so fundamental is that you're unable to experience happiness without gratitude. So in other words, there is no amount of possessions or things or experiences or relationships that you could ever have if you don't appreciate what you already have, because you're always wanting more. You don't have enough. So when more than enough, is enough, like now, and you could appreciate what you have, then you could come into gratitude. And gratitude is really the shifting of your thoughts. And the first step, obviously, is to connect to your breath, because you can't come back to the moment of now unless you connect to breath and stay connected to breath. Once you connect to breath, then you have thought awareness. Connection to breath gives you the luxury of present moment awareness and presence that allows you to have thought awareness. Thought awareness just simply means you can see your thoughts for what they are and choose which ones serve you and which ones don't. So at that point, you can activate thought that does serve you and choose a thought to bring into the mix, which then becomes an abundant thought of something, a feeling, anything that you appreciate, want, like, have, grateful for, gratitude, that whole side of the world of abundance and scarcity. Once you do that, you create a different brainwave in your brain. So breath first, to thought, to physical reaction, to releasing positive endorphins, to a higher brainwave state of alpha or theta that only comes through a higher emotion. What are other higher emotions, you might ask? Other higher emotions are things like love and joy or awe. Like you come around in a car and you see a mountain, you're like, good, that's incredible. Well, some of these other things are a little bit more complicated to manifest in terms of joy and awe. Not gratitude, bro. It's a breath away. That's why it's it, right? It's
Yeah.
both the fundamental, only it's the ingredient, and it doesn't matter how far you go back. If you want to go back to Genghis Khan or Shaka Khan a few years ago, if you don't have gratitude, you can't be happy, because you can't get there from here. So
Yeah.
and then obviously with the practice of gratitude, you create more neural pathways or more and more roads to abundant thinking. So from a pure muscle memory standpoint, the more times you go there, the more ways there are to get there.
Yeah. No, and gratitude truly is a game changer. It unlocks a level of abundance in your life I mean, it's helped me tremendously. It's how I initiated my journey, just being grateful. And I remember in college when this kind of all started for me, we had a little inner joke between the team, like, just got to be grateful. Like something happened, like we would literally laugh at it. Like it was a thing that we did, which is
Powerful, right?
crazy how I
Well,
came
you
about
take
you.
yeah, when you take yourself out of being a victim, you reclaim your power. You
Yeah.
reclaim your power, right? And because that's the thing about gratitude. What it does for you is everything that happens in your life has to fall in one of two buckets, right? It's either a lesson or a blessing, right? And it may
Yeah.
take lots of time to reveal. That's where people get jammed up with gratitude, is they lack the faith or don't understand you need faith and patience to wait for what I call the reveal. The reveal is, will this be a lesson or will it be a blessing? Like, will this person that acted in a strange and unhealthy way that caused me financial harm, will that be a lesson for me as to the type of people that, or that, or will this be a blessing in the long run, or both, But it's one or the other. And I'm sure as hell not a victim, because I'm the co-creator of everything in my life.
Yeah. And I just went through your program with the Grateful For, and I
Right.
truly felt the transformation through the process as you were talking about this and like sharing with all the other Sherpas or hosts that you
Yeah.
had. It was truly an experience that connected you to the simplicity of life and the thing that truly matter. So to share with the audience, Kevin,
Mhm.
how do you incorporate the values of gratitude into the programs and initiatives of Grateful For?
Great question. So really the best way to explain how gratitude can serve the wider audience that I'm looking to meet are, business executives and golf industry executives. And the best way to explain that is, I guess, to ask the question, if you were to report to a leader in your business, would you want an authentic or an inauthentic leader? You want an
Authentic.
authentic leader, right? Of course, right? So then you have to go, well, what does that even mean, right? So, well, we know what someone is fake, right? That's non-authentic. Well, non-authentic leadership would be like, oh, okay, there's a recipe for leadership. Okay, you say this, you dress this way, you act this way. Okay, that's how you be a leader. Okay, I'll do that. Well, that's not authentic, right? Because that's a recipe or something, right? That's not coming from inside. So that means that being authentic means that your leadership has to come from somewhere, not from the outside, but from the inside, right? So, in other words, you have to be able to connect, right, to something that is really your higher self, or something that is really true to you in terms of what you really care about, and what your true values are, and your message, right, as a human being. So that's why what I'm doing here, using gratitude as almost the treat that you get as a reward when you could come back in and get connected to your breath and come back to the moment of now. You could reward yourself with the dog biscuit of an abundant thought, of thinking of someone you love and appreciate, because then what you're doing is you're rewarding your mind, your body, everything with everything good. That thought produces good physical reactions, good chemical reactions, all these other good things. And then what you're also doing is getting more and more comfortable in this space of what is now, right? That's present moment awareness, which is where authentic leaders can live and make decisions from, right? They can have clarity because they're comfortable with themselves. They've worked through and integrated some of their trauma, their past experiences, to understand which thoughts they wish to keep, which thoughts don't serve them. And that's a big reason about how gratitude is going to come to function in business.
I love it, man. I love it. I think what you're doing is truly needed in the world today, especially, and it's more than just this golf, because
Oh, yeah.
Grateful For is beyond that. And could
Anywhere.
you share a little bit about like what is the primary mission of the Grateful For organization?
Yeah, the primary mission is to leverage existing cohort leaders. In other words, folks that already have access to kids, coaches, boys and girls clubs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and reward them through their work, through direct financial grants, and have them participate in a 30-day program from the Grateful For organization of exchanging a daily program of gratitude, intention, and accountability that's called the GIFT program. So, in practical terms, if I were to come to you and you'd say, well, yeah, Doral is where I grew up, and junior golf there in Miami, that's kind of like, those are my childhood memories. I'd like to stoke some of those old, maybe some of the junior golf volunteers and stuff from back in the day in my hometown. Okay, great. So we go to the AJGA, the local chapter, we get the names of some of these folks, and we just surprise them with this grant that's come in from the Connected Golfer to pay it forward and express gratitude to his roots there in his community that helped shape him and impact him. and maybe each of them get $1,000 for a 30-day program. And for 30 days, they just send a text to their 10 kids that they each work with, and those kids send it back. And it's just the gift. And the gift is an acronym for one new thing they're grateful for, one intention for their day. I'll be nicer to my teacher, whatever. And then two things they're going to get done, which we call FT for first things of importance, right? So GIFT. So the teacher, mentor, coach, clergyman, whomever sends that to the kids send it back. After 30 days, the grant is released to that cohort leader, and they receive that cash and they do with it what they will and report that income as income as needed. But the cool thing is that we can do this without infrastructure. We're leveraging existing volunteers, rewarding them for that. And once those kids fulfill that 30-day sort of introduction to mindfulness and accountability, we offer up financial literacy at no cost, an online financial literacy course so kids can learn the basics of things like interest and checking accounts and credit and how those things work. And if they go through that, they're opened up into the opportunity for the visit, if you will, that we alluded to earlier, to go to the local golf facility and have a day at the course. And really, we call it sort of a one-day internship where they experience the different departments from different leaders and can check out different things and see which things resonate with them. And then as they become of age, or if they are of age, explore opportunities for employment for kids that are 16 and older, whether it's seasonal employment or what have you. So that's just golf, right? The idea, though, with Grateful For is fill in the blank after the four. I just happen to be a guy that came up in golf for the last 30 years, so I have relationships and understanding there. But grateful for yoga, grateful for breath work, grateful for football, grateful for basketball, grateful for anything. So wherever folks have access and influence, we want to bring these daily practices of gratitude, and we also want to deliver revenue and income back to the undercompensated folks that are high touch in the at-risk community.
That's amazing, man. I love it. It's truly making a positive impact in the world. And, for you guys that want to go alongside Kevin on this journey, go follow him at the GratiDude on Instagram. He posts daily gratitude concepts and,
Yep,
and,
and
and
let me
wisdom
just
in
say
there.
it's gratitude_abides. And while we're doing shameless plugs, website for a lot of the stuff we're doing, coaching, some of the stuff that Leo's done with me and that we'll do together is at grateful4.org. So grateful4.org. And that'll continue to expand and grow as we continue to do new and cool stuff. So Leo, thank you so much. You're an incredible leader today and a future leader tomorrow as well. So it's great to be along for the ride with you as well.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate you. I appreciate having you as a friend, and hope you guys learned a lot from this pod. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Stay connected.